Hey, so I wanted to talk about strategy today. I'm just actually seeing if I can. No, I want to see if I can share screen. Um, Let me see if I can do something here. I want to see if I can share my screen. Present. I've not done this before, so bear with me. Let me just give me 1 second. I think. Hey, look at that. I am sharing my screen. Look at that. That's fantastic. So, what I want to talk about is what's working right now. I've just posted some various bits of content around this. So, what I'm seeing right now is a lot of advertisers. A lot of what I do is one of the services I do is I give audits on accounts, and I see a lot of accounts each and every week. And a lot of what I'm seeing is just really complex campaign setup and not really making any sense to why these campaigns have been set up so complicated. And often I'll speak to the brand owner, director, whoever it is who's in charge, and we'll go through the campaigns and I'll say, look, the way the campaigns have been set up, they've they've been set up with too many campaigns and it's a fragmentation of budget. I'm going to go through the presentation in a minute. I just want to give you a little bit of context to where I'm coming from. So, what happens if you've got too many campaigns running? There's a fragmentation of not only data because you're not giving the Google Ads, the AI, it's all run from AI, so it's not giving the AI enough information. And then you as an advertiser are finding it, you're not getting enough data points back to know what's working and what isn't. So let me give you an example. Recently worked with a brand and it was actually 10 search campaigns running and 4 PMax campaigns. And as I started to dig deep, what it was, there was a lot of campaigns running on 20, 30 dollars a day, and they were targeting large areas. They were targeting countries. But the way that the campaigns had been set up, the budget had been fragmented into smaller budgets, and based on the budgets, it wasn't giving each individual campaign enough budget to understand or to learn or to optimize not only Google Ads but also the brand, the owner who was he'd one of his guys was running the Google Ads, and they thought that if you had more campaigns, you could literally get more data points and then optimize. But because the budget was so small in each campaign, and they were targeting hundreds of millions of people, it didn't make any sense, and it just wasn't collecting enough data. So we have to understand that when you create a campaign, that you have to first of all create enough budget for that campaign. If you're creating multiple campaigns, there has to be a reason why you're doing. And again, every time I create a campaign and create a second campaign or a third campaign, I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Is there a reason why I'm creating another campaign? And if there isn't a reason based off of data, so you also want to be understanding the data points that we're getting back from Google. So what would be the reasons you'd want to start up another campaign? Well, potentially you've maxed out a search campaign and maybe you want to target another area. That's absolutely fine to do that. Or potentially you've maxed out the Google Ad campaign, say a search campaign that you're running, and you wanted to target different keywords. Again, potentially that's another way that you could look at it. But what I want to do is let's go through this presentation and then I'll go into some kind of recaps of the way I kind of focus on Google and what I'm seeing, what's working right now in 2026. So let's go through the first presentation. More complexity does not mean better results. And like I said, having more campaigns, having demand gens, PMax campaigns, lots of search campaigns running, unless there's an understanding to why we've created a second, third, or fourth campaign, there is no reason to do it. And again, it's just having a clear understanding. And often the simplest campaigns will do the best. As soon as I start to condense campaigns, consolidate, we see majority of the time we see immediate pickup in results. Why? Because we're consolidating. There's no need to have lots of campaigns. It doesn't mean that you're an advanced strategist for Google. It just means that potentially you don't understand the data points to give you the reason to create those multiple campaigns. So most business owners think scaling Google Ads means doing more, and it couldn't be any further from the truth, guys. Simple is good. Less is more. Remember that. Less is more with Google Ads, and if you can understand that, you'll go a long way with Google. All of my campaigns, nothing is complicated because there's no need to be complicated. We need to have an understanding of how to get the most out of the platforms and how we can segment to make sure there's as little crossover as possible. And as soon as we understand that, then we have a better understanding of how to create profitable, which is what we want to do, create profitable Google Ads campaigns. So let me give you an example. So at the bottom, we've got overcomplicated accounts. So we've got 8 campaigns, 17 ad groups, too many keywords, split budget, and fragmented data. Now, like I said, if you've got too many campaigns, lots of ad groups, too many campaigns with small budgets, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20 pound, dollars, whatever, it's just not going to cut it for Google. We need to be consolidating. So if you've got 8 campaigns on between 20, 30, 40 dollars a day, and you're targeting the whole of the country, then you're not going to get enough data points for you to understand. It's going to be very, very fragmented. So for something like this, what you would potentially want to do is condense to maybe one search campaign based around keyword themes, get that working, vertically scale it before you start horizontally scaling. And I'll jump into that in a second. And then I've got versus a simple scaling campaign. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than this, guys. A search campaign that is doing well. You've increased the budget and you've hit some sort of resistance, whether that's CPC resistance or you just haven't getting, as you're increasing the budget by 20% every 5 to 7 days, potentially you haven't got any more conversions based on the budget increase. Then you could bring in a Performance Max campaign. And again, you could then bring in a demand gen. Demand gen, little tip, if you're running meta ads and you've got some good creatives, or you're running organic, you're posting on a regular basis, you're getting some good results from the organic side of your business, which is just posting on a regular basis. And organic is just posting without putting money behind it. So you're getting some, you're posting every day, and then suddenly you see one of your posts does better than the others. And potentially you could take that and use that for a YouTube or YouTube Shorts. So again, that's where the demand gen is. You can take the creatives from Meta or your organic, bring them over to a demand gen campaign, and works very, very well. So again, nothing complicated here. Simple is often the best. I know we see stories, or we see posts of people just overcomplicating things, and honestly, you can get to the complicated things, but we need to get the basics right. And all too often I'm taking campaigns that are just so complicated and just condensing them, getting that stabilization of the account right first, and then we're seeing better results almost within days. And that's how quickly you can optimize a campaign and just get that simplicity back in. So let's go to the next slide. So why is this happening in 2026? There's 2 shifts that we're seeing with Google Ads for scaling. So the first one is shift 1, Google Ads targeting. So Google no longer targets only keywords. So what we need to do is, when we're adding in keywords, add in longer tail keywords with sort of like 3, 4, 5 keywords that make some sort of a meaning. Google as a platform is going towards conversational searches. So it is heading that way. And we're seeing that through AI. And again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but we just want to make sure that we're adding more longer tail keywords to make sure that if we do that, then again, we're feeding the algorithm a bit more information, a bit more context. And again, the positive for this is that you'll have a lot less irrelevant keywords based on adding negative keywords. Because if you think about it, if you're giving the AI more context to what you want, then it's got less chance to look for random things. So more information, better quality in, better quality out, guys. You still have to do the negative keywords. You still have to do your optimizations, but potentially you're giving the algorithm a better head start from the beginning, rather than fighting the algorithm and it's just showing for this word and it's showing for that, because you haven't created the right structure based on 2026, which is exactly what I'm talking about. And even, I've got it here, even exact match now picks up close variant. So again, remember that when you're adding in exact. Meaning matters more than exact wording. So meaning matters more than exact wording. So what I mean by that is that, like I said, it's about the meaning of the keywords that you're targeting. So no longer you put in 1 or 2 keywords, put in 3, 4, 5 to make some sort of a meaning, which again will help the AI to pick up more of what you want. And shift number 2, Conversion data is the guardrail. Smart bidding learns from conversion signals. Smart bidding learns from conversion signals. At some point, when you launch a Google Ads campaign, you'll start with a CPC strategy or max click strategy, but then you want to progress to smart bidding, which is maximize conversions for lead generation, and it's going to be maximize conversion value for e-commerce. Again, with Google's AI, you're tapping into that smart bidding. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but smart bidding is where you want to be because it picks up a lot more signals. By adding in the smart bidding and structuring your account in a certain way, then that will additionally help you to add in a performance max campaign, which will not interfere as much with the search campaign. That's one of the caveats of what we're talking about. Match types matter less than signal quality. And again, it's about the quality of the way that we're structuring the accounts, optimizing it, and setting up based on best practice for 2026. Good data now does most of the heavy lifting. So again, setting up these campaigns correctly, optimizing them, and letting Google Ads do the heavy lifting, and then you're doing your weekly optimizations, which doesn't have to, again, be so complex. We just need to have an understanding of how we set these campaigns up. What do you think would be more difficult, to optimize 8, 9, 10 campaigns that are getting fragmentation of data, not enough data, crossover of keywords, than 1 or 2 campaigns in a whole structure of a campaigns that you're running to get the very best of all? It's going to be 1 or 2 campaigns, isn't it? It's going to be, if you're running a search with a performance max, it's going to be far easier than trying to optimize 8, 9, 10 campaigns, but you're not really sure where the data is coming from, the fragmentation of the budget as well. So again, we need to make sure that we're understanding. So conversion data is so important. But again, we can control that, but the way that we're scaling and going through the bidding strategies, the budget increases by 20% at a time. And again, we need to have a good understanding of that. The next slide, I want to give you my 4-step scaling framework for scaling ads really. So the first one is streamline the structure of your campaigns. So less is more. Consolidate what should be consolidated. So again, you don't need to make it complex. You don't need to do it for yourself. You don't need to do it for clients to prove or to show them that you're actually doing work. The data and the understanding of Google is knowing what the key to Google is, to know when to go in to make those changes and when to take a step back. All too often, I'm just seeing way too much complexity, and I'm going in and simplifying the accounts that I work with. And like I said, within days, we're seeing, fantastic results. Number 2, scale vertically first. All this means there's 2 types of scaling you can do. Scaling vertically is where you have a campaign, you're getting good results, and then you're increasing your budget. It says there, increase your budget by 20% every 5 to 7 days. Now, why is it 20%? If you increase it by more than 20%, then potentially you could see a little bit of a pullback. If you increase it by 20%, wait 5 to 7 days, what you're doing then is seeing, as you're increasing that budget, are you then getting the conversions that you want? Are you seeing any type of issues? And when I say issues, you're not getting the conversions. You might need to wait another 5 to 7 days before you increase another 20%, and or you may also want to make sure that you haven't hit any CPC resistance, which is where, say your average cost per click is, say, £2, $2, and then suddenly as you're scaling, you see your CPCs rising to 7 or 8 pounds, dollars, whatever country you're in or whatever metric you're optimizing for. If you see, your CPCs rising by 3 times or 4 times what they are normally, then potentially you've hit some sort of a resistance that Google has, and it's giving you that data through CPC resistance. So again, we need to make sure that we're optimizing and understanding how to scale vertically. And if there's any problems, then potentially we can then break that out into another campaign. We're going to come on to that shortly. Segment when CPCs rise. Again, break out the winners by location, product, services. When budget increases, stop working. I kind of covered that. But again, if you've got a search campaign and you're seeing any issues with scaling, then potentially you can break out another search campaign, target different locations or different keywords, and or you can do the next number 4, which I'm going to talk about now, which is horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling, increasing budget. Horizontal scaling is just where you've got a search campaign and potentially you want to broaden the terms, the themes that you're adding into your Google Ads by adding in, say, a performance max campaign. So search campaign, you've scaled vertically. Now you want to add in a performance max campaign. And again, it doesn't have to be a performance max campaign. If it's e-commerce, you can add a shopping campaign. It's entirely up to you what you do. But again, just giving you some structure on how you can vertically and horizontally scale by understanding the metrics. And once you understand the metrics with Google, you can once you get the optimizations right, once you get the results right, you can with 90+ % be sure that as you scale vertically, if you don't hit any resistance, you can almost predict what results you're going to get. And again, if you see any issues, then just rather than waiting 5 to 7 days, wait 10 to 12 days, wait a little bit longer. And again, if you see that you're not getting the results that you want or the CPC resistance, that's when you can add in horizontal scaling, which is adding in a different type of campaign. And again, adding new placements, broader themes, and cold traffic only after cold structure works. So this is horizontal scaling, guys. So I hope that makes sense. I've gone through my kind of framework of how I approach Google Ads, and it's what's working right now. It's how I'm scaling ads successfully, knowing what I know, passing that information on to you guys. If you want me to look at your Google Ads, if you want me to give you a 10-15 minute audit on your Google Ads, it's something that I offer. It's something that I enjoy doing to kind of give back to those who are struggling or not really sure, if their data points are correct. And again, one of the reasons I do it is because when I started out with Google, I didn't have that support, so I kind of learned the hard way. And there's lots of people posting different types of strategies, and there are different types of strategies, but there's as we're going into 2026, the second half, it's becoming more clear to me that the strategies that people are using are from 2-3 years ago, and they don't necessarily work as well as by setting up the campaign, as I mentioned, with the structure and framework that I've given you. So again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.